What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Good Saturday today. Thanks for coming back. It's good to see you guys again. Though I've been off for about a week now. Haven't done an episode in a little over a week. Yeah, I've been a little busy doing some things behind the scenes and just going through life. But good to be back. Thanks for tuning in again. I've been enjoying my weekend watching the NFL draft. One of my favorite events to watch. One of the best events there are, period. And so I'm sitting watching the draft like my Browns have done. They took David Bell, my guy, wide receiver out of Purdue, who I really like. They took Perry on Winfrey today, who I liked as well. I love the draft. I'm kind of like a draft nerd in a way. And so, although I didn't get into it as much this year because right around March when all the Deshaun Watson stuff was going on, that was kind of all my focus when it came to sports and my downtime. And so I didn't really get into the draft for a while, but the last couple of weeks I've gotten back into the draft and leading up to it just to study some of the guys who I like, who I don't like, and but yeah, I'm glad we got two of the guys I liked. I like David Bell and I like Perry Winfrey. So as a Browns fan, I'm happy. And the first night's always the best, obviously, because it's round one. And hold on, let me shut this. Sorry about that. First night's always the best one. Obviously, because it's round one. It's all the better players, but sometimes. But we had Trevon Walker go number one, Aiden Hutchinson, Derek Stingley, Ahmad Sauce Gardner, who I like. That pick a lot. I thought he was the best corner in the draft. And he didn't have a quarterback. Not really a great year for quarterbacks in this draft at all. Just not a deep quarterback class at all. And so you had Pickett go at 20. And then I like Malik Willis. I like his talent and his upside. I like Desmond Ritter's upside. But, those guys are taken in later rounds. Although I thought Willis would be the first quarterback taken in the draft. But Pittsburgh really liked Pickett. So that's who they went with. But I just love the draft period. I like the scene. Just it's cool watching all those people gather there and all the jerseys on, all the different fan bases, and do the draft like that. And it's been a lot better since they started doing it more in city to city, where they have crowds, and it's just a lot more exciting. It's a lot more, just brings a whole lot more just entertainment to the whole night. And it's like a big event now. I remember when the draft used to be just like, you just turn on the draft and it's just on. Or it's just something you listen to on the radio when you're working throughout the day. When I was like younger, I remember like growing up, that's how people listen. Or when I was growing up, the guys people would watch it on TV that I knew. But a lot of people would just have it on the radio. And it wasn't like something they really cared to like. They didn't have to like sit down and watch. Now it's something you sit down, you play, and you have parties, and you sit and watch with people. And so it's awesome. That's one of my favorite events. And so I've been watching that. And the NBA playoffs. Oh, man. I remember my last episode, I was sitting there like, yeah, the Nets and Celtics going to be a great series. Yeah. Winner's going to go to the finals. Man, was that a crap series or what? That series was complete, boring, garbage. Just not even, I didn't bother tuning in the last two games of the series because I was just like, well, I didn't watch it. This is boring. You already knew what the outcome was going to be. It's going to be a close game, but the Celtics are going to win in the end. And the Celtics are a great team. So shout out to the Celtics because I like watching that team a lot. They're a great team basketball, great team defense. They got great players with Tatum and Brown. They're a real dangerous team as well, especially if they get Robert Williams back pretty soon, their center. Boston's a pretty good team. And but the Nets, oh, man, they couldn't even win a game. I was like, you can't even win a game. Not one game. It was disappointing. But anyways, but yeah. So, I mean, Kevin Durant just struggled. Boston really defended him well. They throw the Grant Williams kid on him. Tatum was on him. They just threw all kinds of bodies on him and just they really were physical with him from the point. As soon as he caught the ball, they were right there at his face. As soon as he came across half court, they were already on him. And which I agree, that's the way to guard him. You got to really just pressure the hell out of him and just make it tough for him. And you're not gonna a great player like him. He's gonna get 20 points. But if he shoots 9 of 26 to get those 20 points, then you did your job as a defender. That's a pretty good night. And so, Boston did that really well. But, Durant just struggled. He had a good last game. He had like 30-something points. He did all right. Or a lot better in the last game. He had some shots more like KD that we know. But just him and Kyrie, outside of those two. And Kyrie had a good first couple games, but he struggled the last couple games. And just, I think those two didn't look like they really believe they can even win anyways, to be honest with you. And I don't think they... When you look at the rest of that supporting cast, they're just not... They got some guys that are good players, good role players, but they don't have enough depth, and they need more playmaking. I think Ben Simmons will help them whenever he plays because he's a 6'10 playmaker. That's hard to find, but they don't really need him to score a whole lot either. They just need him to go out there, and Ben Simmons should adapt the role basically that Draymond Green has. Now, he's a little different, a little more skilled than Draymond, a little more guard-centric than Draymond. In a lot of ways, but kind of that same playmaking ability, stretching the floor out, dribble drive, just attack the basket, and defend at a high level, and rebound. And he can do all those things. He already does those things well already. And so I do think Simmons will help. They need a little more scoring on the perimeter. They need a good guard, I think, that can just get buckets, just a microwave scorer, maybe off the bench. They got to get some help for those guys, and we'll see what happens with the coaching staff. I don't think Steve Nash is going to get fired. I don't know if I would fire Steve Nash, but it wasn't a great playoff for him. They waited till the end to put in Blake, another big out there. They put Blake Griffin at the end. I'm like, why'd you wait till now to put Blake Griffin in? I think I said to you guys in the last episode, I'm like, after game one, I'm like, they need to put more bigs in there. They're playing too small. They need some bigs in there to rim run, get in there, run around, get some rebounds, just be active, set good screens, and just good rebound, do all those things. And they waited till the last game to put Ben Simmons in, and he goes out there and he plays pretty effective. He's playing pretty well, and it's a good game, and they're in it. But it's just like, why did you wait till now to put him in? Like, what are you doing? And it was just not, I don't know. That was a terrible performance by the Nets. Very disappointing. No, I do think chemistry, in terms of the team, I think going through what they went through the whole year with Kyrie out, missing half the season, and then you bring him back in late in the year like that, full time, I think it's an adjustment. So they never really got on the same page fully. But, I mean, come on, you can't win a game. It's just like, yeah, very disappointing, that team. But I'm looking forward to the Celtics. I like the Celtics team a lot. And hats off to them. It's playing a great team brand of basketball. And they just play the game the right way. They're well coached. I like their new coach. What's his name? Ime Udoka, I believe is his name. Coach Udoka. And they just play really just kind of like the Celtics have always played. That's why the Celtics are a great franchise, a historic franchise. They just have a certain style of play, a tradition. Fast break, tough defense, get out and run. They always had great scorers, guys who could score the ball, could shoot. Tatum is a great all-around player. And so I'm curious to see what the Celtics team can do in this matchup against the Bucks, because I think that's going to be the winner of that series, I think, will go to the finals. And obviously the Bucks are a great team as well. You got Giannis, who's unstoppable. You got Chris Middleton is a great scorer, great defender, good two-way player. Drew Holiday, another great two-way player. Defending champs. So that's going to be a great series there. I don't think Miami and Philly is really not as interesting because I just read Embiid's out indefinitely. And so, and the way, I don't think either of those teams could beat Boston or Milwaukee the way those two teams are playing right now. And so, to me, that series is kind of like a wash, Miami. Because let's say Miami wins, which they should now if Embiid's out. No problem. I'd say 5-6 games. I just don't think Miami has the ISO. They don't have the scoring. They don't have the guys so you can just give them the ball and then go head-to-head with Tatum and Brown or Middleton or Giannis. Or, I just don't think they have enough offensive firepower to keep up with those other two teams, ultimately in a 7-game series. Doesn't mean they still can't win, but, like with Miami, Kyle Lowry's hasn't really played a whole lot. Or I think he was out. So Jimmy Butler had one game and he gets 41 points. He's a great player, but he's not. Jimmy Butler's not a. I think he only averages like 20 points a night anyways. He's not a 25, 30 point a game guy usually. He's more of like a junkyard kind of guy. He can go off on any night, but he's not a great as a scorer as Jason Tatum, I don't think. I don't think it's even close. I mean, Jason Tatum go off for 50 any night, 40, 50 points. And that's just how great of a player he is. Giannis the same. Giannis is unstoppable. You can't stop Giannis. So I don't think Miami can hang with those guys. So I think the winner of this Bucks-Celtics is probably going to win the East. And then out west, you got the Suns and the Mavericks. To me, that's kind of... There's a lot of health concerns there. Yeah, I think Luka was a little banged up, if I'm not mistaken, in the last series. And then Devin Booker's been out. So I like to see that what it looks like fully healthy. I think it could be a good series. I would still take the Suns, and I'd like to see the Suns win because I want to see Chris Paul get a shot at another ring. But we'll see what happens there. But I'll take the Suns there. And then the other series I'm really interested in outside the Celtics one is the Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies. I'm interested to see how Ja Morant does against that Warriors defense. The Warriors, they're going to have a style play. They always show up. They play well. Great defense, great offense, shooting, obviously. Just a very well-coached, well-rounded team. And with, 3 Hall of Famers on it. And so I'm curious to see how Ja Morant and the other rest of his young guys on his team, how they react to that. Is it going to be an easy 25, 30 points for him, or is he going to have to jack up a lot of shots for them to even stay in the game at some point? Because the Warriors, they can, obviously they got any guy. Steph can go off for 40, 50, easy. Clay can have a hot night. Jordan Poole now, this guy, he can go off for 20-something points or more any night. He's becoming a great young player. Draymond does his thing. Pass the ball, rebound, defend at a high level, intense. Just, it's just like a nuisance to the other team. And then Andrew Wiggins, he's an all-star this year. He could score the ball. He's athletic and defend. So I'm really curious to see how this Memphis team, especially if they're the guard play. I want to see the guard play versus each team. Because outside of Ja, you have some other Dylan Brooks, I think Tyus Jones, a couple other good guards. I like to see Jaren Jackson versus Draymond, that matchup. Especially Draymond guarding him. I think Jaron's going to have to... Jaren Jackson, excuse me. I'm saying Jaron. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Jaren Jackson is going to have a big series, I think, for them to stay competitive. They got to have some type of paint presence. So, because you can't just let Draymond just do whatever he wants, defense and rebound the ball and do whatever the hell he wants. You got to have some type of paint presence down there. And they do. They got Steven Adams. They got Jaren Jackson. So I think it's going to be a good series. It's going to be a really entertaining series. But I just want to see how Ja Morant does game to game. Can he do what LeBron basically did in his younger years, where he had a team that maybe wasn't as deep or talented as the other team, but he can go out any night, get 30, 40 points, triple-double, a lot of double-digit assists, rebounds, and lead a team over the hump and win those couple games on the road, especially. Like, remember LeBron's famous game with Detroit where he scored the last 25 points, I think it was. And it was all just him. And that's one person willing the team. It's like Jordan, his earlier. Jordan had lesser talent around him, but he willed the team to be competitive. Kobe, same thing. Especially after Shaq left. Kobe had lesser talent, but Lakers were still competitive because Kobe would go out and score 40 points any night just to keep and win the game and just will the team to win. So I'm curious to see how Ja does against this Warriors dynasty team. I mean, I know they've been down the last couple of years. They're still the Warriors. I mean, they still have the Splash Brothers, and they still got Draymond. They still got, like I said, they're still a great team. And so I'm interested in that series. I would lean the Warriors, but I'd give the Grizzlies a shot. They're really well coached, and like I said, you just never know what can happen. They're just a really good young team. They play well together. They're energetic. I really like that team a lot, and so That's kind of what I've seen in the sports world. Outside of the sports world, the other big news this week is the Elon Musk buys Twitter, and everybody just lost their mind. My gosh, but yeah, man, it's kind of bizarre. You know, everybody liked Elon Musk. At least I saw everybody liked this guy, and all of a sudden he buys Twitter. And he's the public enemy #1. I'm like, well, what changed? And it's kind of bizarre too. The day he bought Twitter, all these hit piece articles are put out on him all of a sudden, and he's the worst person ever. He's this, he's that, and oh my gosh, we got to get rid of this guy. I mean, the people were online saying horrible things about this guy, like terrible things, like this guy's a threat. We got to get him out of here. We can't have this. And I'm like, why? What changed overnight? And really, all it is just crazy, just how people are so easily manipulated, just like that. All of a sudden, because the social media and your media or whoever you listen to in your news channel or whoever, or people or your friends around you or whatever, they start telling you one thing, and all of a sudden that's what you believe wholeheartedly. Like, yep, that's right, no question about it, don't challenge it. Elon Musk is terrible. And I don't know Elon Musk, obviously. I don't know it. I'm interested to see where Twitter goes. I don't use Twitter. I haven't used Twitter for a reason, because I don't like it. I think it's toxic. I think it's kind of does a lot of more negative than bad than most of the other social media apps. That's why I never used it. But I am curious to see now where it goes. I know Elon was saying, he's like, I'm bringing free speech back on Twitter and all this, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, me personally, I don't care if somebody I don't believe in silencing people. I think that's why we're such an unhealthy society now. We silence each other. How dare you not agree with me? I'm going to silence you. We're going to cancel you. You should be wiped off the face of the earth because you don't agree with me. No, that's not how life works. That's not reality. Life isn't a one-way street where everything just goes the way you want it to go. Okay? So, and it's just great. This whole Elon Musk thing, the reaction is just bizarre. Just how easily people overnight change their opinion on one man. And it's kind of bizarre to me, too, that all of a sudden when he buys Twitter, all these articles come out on him now, and all these pieces to put out, and they're like, oh, we got this information on Elon Musk. I'm like, well, why didn't you put it out last year? This guy didn't become famous Monday when he bought Twitter. This guy's been famous for 2 years now. He's been more than that. The last 2 years, when he went on Joe Rogan's podcast a couple times, they were the biggest podcast I think ever recorded in history, numbers-wise. They're right up there. It was either him or Alex Jones at the two highest on Joe Rogan's. And all of a sudden, so this guy's been popular for a long time. Everybody liked him. He had Tesla cars. He was cool. Everybody thought he was, like I said, he was cool, connected well with the millennials. And now all of a sudden, everybody hates this guy because he bought Twitter. Okay, well, why do you... And then you got all these people on the TV, on the news, on these articles, these so-called journalists, on the social media apps, all these places, and they're like, well, this guy's a terrible person, and we got to get him out of here. And this is a huge threat. And I'm like, why? Why is it a threat? Why is it a bad thing that people, because somebody you don't agree with is on social media? So anybody I disagree with, I should just wipe them out, cancel them, never listen to them. Maybe not listen to them, but I don't think they should be wiped out and canceled or handcuffed to not do certain things because I don't agree with them, because they don't agree with the narrative I push or the agenda I'm trying to push, or that's what it seems like. I mean, call it what you want. You label me whatever you want. I don't care. I'm not a label. I'm just somebody that believes in God and free will and America and my country, and just I want what's best for everybody. Maybe that doesn't always mean I have to agree with you. You don't have to agree with me. And guess what? That's perfectly okay, because that's how God made us. We're not all made the same. I mean, how boring would Earth be if we all thought the same? It'd be a boring place. And so, but all these people now, like, if you don't agree with me, the hell with you. We gotta get you up out of here. I can't talk to you. And it's like, what is that? Like, it's just so phony and so fake and just so not authentic. And there's not people, those people are the people don't want to be around. It's people like that. I like being around people that are real. I may disagree with them, but I respect the hell out of them because they're going to shoot me straight. They may tell me, they might deliver to me they might tell me something that might hurt at first about me, or like, hey man, you need to stop doing that. And it might hurt. But I respect them though, because they shoot me straight. They're the same person. They're consistent. They're authentic. They're true to themselves. They're not out here trying to be somebody they're not. And that's all this stuff is. It's just people out act like somebody they're not. They're just chasing liked. They're just chasing being liked. They're chasing social media likes. They're chasing popularity. Everybody wants to be famous nowadays. Everybody wants to be a celebrity all of a sudden. Why? Why do you want to be a celebrity? Like, most people I have heard of or follow that are considered celebrities, they don't want to, they're like, you don't want to, this ain't the road you want to go down. Celebrity is just a label. It's not, they're no different than you or I. Okay, oh, they got all this money. Well, guess money doesn't buy your way to heaven. Money doesn't, money's just money. So who cares? I mean, it doesn't, no, I don't care who you are based on your financial status or what your credit score is, or I don't care. Nobody cares. Take that stuff and throw it in the garbage. I don't care. I care about who you are as a person. I want to get to know you, the person, and that's just my approach to life. I guess some people don't view it that way anymore, but just so worried about status and just everybody's just jealous of each other. Everybody's ambitious. We live in a very ambitious society, and it's good to have goals and aspirations to reach, to get places in life. But everybody should have a goal, a dream. But man, you don't need to like. I mean, some people, we're just too ambitious because we feel like we have to do it. Like, I have to do this. I have to post this. I have to dress like this. I have to talk like this. I have to look like this. I have to do these things. I have to date like this. I have to do everything in a certain way. Because if I don't do it in a certain way, then people will not like me or accept me. And I won't be liked. And I won't be popular or cool. And I'm like, that's not what people want. Like, we live in people are craving authenticity. You know why? Because there's not much of it. And I think I said that in one of my earlier episodes. There ain't much authenticity nowadays. Because people are craving it because there's none out there. Nobody. Everybody does the same damn thing all the time. It's all about being liked. It's all about the popularity contest. Everybody's jealous of everybody. Everybody's just pissed off and woe is me, victimhood mentality, and just everybody's in the same cycle. And I think the reason why people stay in the same cycle is because they don't have any trust. They don't have any belief. They don't have any trust or belief in anything. And a lot of times people that don't believe have any spiritual connection to anything, or that's kind of who they are. They're just kind of out there. They're like a yo-yo. They're like a rag doll just being thrown around. An emotional ragdoll. Wherever the wind blows, that's where they go. And that's why people like that don't really excel in life. They don't truly be who they want to be. They don't have any inner peace. They might have all the money in the world, all the status and popularity in the world, but they don't have any inner peace with themselves. When they go home at night and they're isolated in their home by themselves, or they're by themselves, it's complete chaos inside because they don't have any inner peace. They don't have any connection to anything. They're not being, or they're not living the way they truly want to live and be who they want to be. But you got to have that trust and connection to something. And a lot of people don't. Or they've kind of gone away from that. They've been turned away from their core values and who they really are to fit in. And, a lot of times with anxiety, that's a big reason why you don't heal your anxiety. It's because you're stuck in the same cycle over and over again. You don't have the trust or the patience or just the belief in yourself to change. And the key word I said there is something I really want to hit on today, is the patience. You got to have patience. And that's something I've been tested with recently, is patience. And, when you're going through, let's say you're trying to heal anxiety, like with me, right? Let's say you set a 3-month plan. You set a 3-month plan. Okay, in 3 months from now, I want to be at X. I want to be here, right? Gotta hydrate. So 3 months from now, you want to be at X, right? And so, okay, let's say we're about to be at May 1st. So let's say May 1st to August 1st. We'll just put it like that. So when you get to that, so for May 1st, okay, by June, I reach these smaller goals, right? And then from July to June to July, I have more smaller goals, and ultimately leads to the big goal to where I want to be August 1st, right? And so, but a lot of people, when they get that middle stage, then they get to that June, July area, and it's like a little hurdle you get over. Your endurance and your patience starts to be tested, and when you get to that end stage in July, the last like 15%, the hardest part usually is towards the end to break through to something. Your patience gets tested, and a lot of people, they run out of that cold water. You know, they run back to their comfort zone, and that's what a lot of what I see, what I've been talking about the last 10 minutes is so many people in their comfort zone. They think it, and it's not really a comfort zone because you're not free. You know, the quickest way to get to freedom is doing the opposite. It's going out of what you view as safe or comfort zone, especially with anxiety. Like for me, my comfort zone was staying isolated away in my home, not interacting with people, staying in that same victimhood mentality. But if you really want to be free, you have to do the opposite. You have to allow yourself to be vulnerable. You have to let yourself be who you really are, be who you want to be to get where you want to go. And most people don't. They stay in that cycle of comfort zone. But you got to have the trust and the patience. Your patience is going to get tested. And like for me recently, my patience really gets tested. And recently it's been tested a lot. But it's made me go to my Bible more. I've been praying more and reading more than I ever really have in a while. And it's a day-to-day thing. It's a day-to-day process, but each day is an opportunity to get better. That's how you got to view it. Every day when you get up, it's got to be, every day is a great day to have an opportunity to get better today, to be better than I was yesterday. And it's a great day to be alive, but it's, again, every day is an opportunity to grow. And that's the mindset you got to have. You can't wake up every day in the same mindset of the same cycle of negativity, just, you know, it's like an artificial life. And that's a lot of what this is. It's an artificial life. I see so many people in. And I've had so many people that I've seen, especially in the last month, when I put out that first episode, how many people I've reached out to, how many people reached out to me privately when I put that episode out. I was like, man, you know, thanks for sharing your story, and it really inspired me, and you know, keep doing it. But a lot of people would start to share with me their own stories and their own, what they go through with anxiety. And, you know, they shared it with me, and they're like, you know, I try to get by with it. And a lot of people, and I've been there. And so, but it's just crazy how many people, when you look around, they're in that same cycle. They never really get out of it. They're comfortable in their suffering almost. That's what it's like. It's like an addiction to suffering because they think it's comfort, but it's really not. It's not peace. It's not free. It's not, you're not being who you really want to be. And, you know, I've seen a lot of people recently too that I know personally that are going through it with anxiety, and they kind of remind me of, I see myself where I was when I started this journey 7 years ago. And, you know, and a lot of people feel like they did, at least for me. And the reason why now I want to keep doing this more and more and share this message is because my story, my message with anxiety in different ways and different avenues, and have other people on to share theirs, is because 7 years ago when I started going through it, I didn't really have any guidance. I had good support, but I didn't really have any real guidance. Nobody really knew what to do. Nobody had really understood. Nobody really had really good education or knowledge on anxiety or what it really was. You know, they didn't know what to do. And a lot of people that have let's say like for me, I was 15 at the time, so a lot of parents, like my parents were, when you have a 15-year-old or whatever, or you're by yourself, or let's say you're older, an adult, and you start going through anxiety, a lot of people say, okay, well, let's just go to the doctor, we'll get you a medication, and it's just something you have to deal with for the rest of your life. It's just something that you'll just have to learn to cope and get by. That's a horrible strategy. You're never. That's a terrible strategy. You're never gonna get anywhere. You can't. But a lot of times we accept that because we don't really know, and to me that makes people feel more isolated, feel more alone. And the reason why I say that because I've been there, and before I really got going, when I found somebody, which turned out the anxiety guy on YouTube, Dennis. Before I found him, when I was 17, 18 years old, I had just moved. And when I moved to my new house, it was a different environment. So I was kind of got a little more agoraphobic and depressed. I didn't leave my house for a year, really. I could only go like a block away. It was a challenge to do that. And so, but I remember in that year, I was probably I'd say that year is outside of when it first began. That year is probably the toughest time, was in that period right there, because I didn't know if I could ever get out. I was getting to the point where I didn't believe, I really questioned whether I could ever go back to where I was. I questioned whether I could even go a block further from my house ever again. And that's how down I was. And you feel really isolated in that time. You feel like you're the only one going through it, or not saying you're the only one going through it, but you feel like, man, other people have anxiety, but I don't know if they have it like me. Like I feel like I got it really bad. Like, this is different. Like, I don't think anybody can identify with me. And that's where I was. That's where a lot of people are, and that's why they stay in that cycle, in that comfort zone, because they're afraid of change. They're afraid. They don't believe in change. But one day I just went on YouTube and just Googled anxiety, because I got to a point where I couldn't even go to my doctor's appointments. And I kind of just got fed up. I remember sitting in the car one day. I was trying to go to the doctor's, and I couldn't go because I just couldn't leave the house. And I remember I'm sitting there in the car, and my dad was sitting there with me. My mom, I think, ran inside to do something real quick and grab something. I think we were going around the corner, or I was going to try to drive around the corner. But I remember sitting there in the car, and it's just after the whole day with my appointment being canceled, and just I couldn't go, and they were trying to get me to go. I remember just sitting there and looking at my dad, and I was like, something has to change. I said, I got to change something. I got to change this. This isn't working. At that point, I was about almost 3 years in, I believe. Yeah, 3 years in. And I was like, something's not working here. This isn't working. I need to change this. And, my mom and dad at that point, they didn't really know. They were just kind of like, well, maybe you need to just go back to your counseling and stay with doctors and the medicine and just stick with that. And I'm like, nah. I'm like, something was telling me I needed to do something. There was something else out there bigger than what I was doing. And when I mean bigger, I mean something that would really help me, something that I would really identify with, something that I really needed. And like I said, I was on the bike one day, and I think I shared this story before. I just went on YouTube and typed in anxiety, and the anxiety guy popped up, and just the first video I watched changed everything for me, because I finally found somebody. The way he was describing symptoms, and because anxiety gives you a lot of weird symptoms and thoughts and just feelings, it's just weird all around. It's a unique. It's not when you go through a panic attack, it feels like an outer body experience. And I had that recently, like a year before. And right around that time when I was 18, when I was sitting in the car that day. In that same year, I had a really bad panic attack one day where I was out doing well. This was before I moved. I was out getting around more, further away from the house, like really further away. But one day I had a really bad panic attack. And it was just a scary feeling in the car. I was in the car. I was driving home. We dropped somebody off at the airport. And I was just being on the highway up in Cleveland. I was just like, I just started feeling weird. And I didn't understand back then how to, I didn't really know what was going on. I didn't know how to, I kind of just, every day was like hoping I don't have anxiety today, which is a terrible strategy, because what happened was I got in a situation where I had it got to the point so bad where I had a really bad panic attack. And it got so bad, I started having it's a symptom of anxiety. Some people say it's a disorder. I think it's just, and Dennis believes this too, and I believe it as well. It's more just a symptom. It's like it's called depersonalization, derealization. And what it is when you're having a panic attack sometimes, or anxiety attack, you kind of feel like you're like out of it almost. And you feel like, it's weird it's a weird feeling. Like, just think of being derealized. Like, you feel like you're not in reality. You're depersonalized. You feel like you're not in your body. You feel like you're like an out of body experience. And I remember I was in the car, we were driving over like a bridge on the highway, and I just started screaming, like in fear, like shock. Like, I had this feeling, and I was just like, whoa. And I didn't know how to handle it. I thought I was about to like die. Like, I thought something was really wrong. And I remember my mom was sitting there trying to calm me down, and she called my dad on the things. They were both sitting there. And eventually it went away, because it always does go away, because all it was just a symptom of a panic attack. But I remember I became really fearful after that. Like, that really kind of set me back. But I didn't know what it was. I never felt that before. I've had panic attacks, not to that degree. And I wasn't at home. I was out and about in a car on a highway, a busy highway, and it just made it, all that to combine together, made me more like scary. Because when you're in a car, you can't just stop on a highway, especially on a highway. You can't just stop. There was no upcoming exit or anything. I was just like, okay, this is what it is. I had to just sit there and just go through it. And it was scary. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know how to handle it. But fast forward to that couple months, that happened in July of 2017. June or July. The day I was in the car when I went to talk to my dad, when I missed the doctor's appointment, fast forward that to March of 2018. And I'm still very fearful of that. That really set me back, especially when I moved a couple months. I moved in August of 2017, and so that when I moved, it really just all of it just kind of just compounded, and I felt let down because I was doing well, okay, I was getting out again, hanging out with people, but I went right back to square one in a deeper hole, and I just got really down. But I had to make the choice, and it got to a point, like I said that day in March, where I said, I can't do this anymore. Something has to change. I can't keep doing this. And it just took me I don't say desperate, but just out of curiosity, I said, let me go find something. And just went on there, and voila, I find Dennis Simsek, the anxiety guy. And like I said, that first video, it changed everything. I was just like, oh my gosh, this guy knows exactly the symptoms I have. And the way he was, like I said earlier, he was describing the symptoms, the thoughts, and I figured out. One day he did a video on depersonalization. I said, that's what I went through that day in the car. And it all just started coming together. And here we are, I think almost 4 years later now, here I am. You know, it just took off. I listened probably to, he has a lot of episodes. I listened to so many, I don't even know the number. I listened to so many episodes all day, every day. Just basically binge watched and listened to them from that point on for like a year. Like, just every day I was just like learning, educating. I still wasn't at the point where I believed in myself to start applying things and challenge myself. That took some time for me, about a year. But about a year later after that, I'm trying to think. Yeah. About a year later, that's when I really started to build more momentum. I started to challenge myself more on my bike, and then I started getting in the car and going places, and then I just started to take off. And it's led me all the way to where I am now. And, you know, I'm still not where I want to be yet, but I'm really, really close. I'm getting really close each day. I think I feel the best I've ever felt in my life right now. I mean, I'm only 22, but I haven't lived a long life. But I'm the way I feel, especially in the last month, is the best I've ever been. But it never would have happened if I didn't go out of my comfort zone. If I didn't, you know, challenge myself to go on and look that up that day and to find that video from Dennis. And just, I got out of that cycle. By me going out of that cycle, I started to become who I really am. And that's, I mean, that's true inner peace. That's the real happiness. That's what people want. That's who you should want to be. Because, like I said, that's true happiness. That's real inner peace. That's real freedom. And I would have never did it if I didn't just go out of the ordinary. And if I didn't get out of that cycle, I'd still be in that cycle. I would still be that kid in the car that day that can't go to a doctor's appointment or can't go a block away from his house. I'd still be there. And like I said, I still have my challenges now, but I'm not that same person anymore. I'm not my old anxious identity. I'm not that person. But I had to do it on my own. And you have to get to a point in this journey, guys, where you're pleasantly alone. What you mean by pleasantly alone is whether you're home alone or just you could be out in public amongst thousands of people, anywhere. You're just like almost on Zen mode. Like you're just like you march to the beat of your own drum. You can control. You're good at your. You can control your thoughts. You're in tune with your body, your thoughts, your mind, your emotions, your spirit. You're just really in tune. You have a big. Your self-confidence and self-empowerment is so high. You know what I mean? And you just have a belief in yourself, and it's hard because I learned that recently about being more, especially in the past year. It's really challenged me a lot because a lot of my worst panic attacks is when I was home by myself, and they were long days, and I hated that feeling. I didn't want to be in those situations again. I avoided them for a long time, but in the last year, I really got tested a lot, and like especially in the summer, I had a long summer. It was a long summer for me because it kind of brought back a lot of those old negative feelings. Certain days I was in certain situations where I was home by myself. I didn't like that feeling, and it kind of led me to having a bad panic attack. It just kind of trickled down, snowball effect. By the end of August, felt like I was back at square one again. Now, it wasn't as bad. I'll never go back to where I was 7 years ago when all this started, or even back when I was 17. I'll never go back to that, but I was pretty close. I felt like I was close. That's just how I felt and thought. I was really down on myself, and but again, I had to challenge. I had to get out of that comfort zone I was in, and since September, I've really been all the things I've ever really feared. I've challenged, and I'm becoming more and more disinterested in them. But through all that, I'm becoming my own person, who I am. I'm becoming my true identity, who God made me to be. I'm not this artificial, fabricated identity that I always was. I don't, anxiety is a habit. And there's a lot of habits that go into that main habit. And a lot of those habits that contributed to that, I don't do most of those anymore. I just don't do it. And because that's not who I want to be. There's been too much pain associated with that I don't ever want to go back to that. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to challenge myself more to get to that, never go back to that point, but also, I want to get where I really want to be, and I'll do it. I'm willing now, where I am now, because I've all the pain and stuff I've been through, the fire that's been lit into me, and just challenging all those fears, it's given me more of a belief in myself that I really can get to where I want to be, and I feel like I'm getting really, really close. But when you get to that point, you start to get a little impatient sometimes. That's kind of where I've been. Is you got to stay patient, and you got to be really, your body's like an energy mechanism, like I mentioned in previous episodes. So you really got to be cautious of what you give energy into, and it could be people. Like there's certain people I really don't go around a whole lot, or maybe there's certain types of people I don't really tend to hang with or talk to, because a lot of times it's the same kind of people I was talking about a little bit ago. They're very they can't really think for themselves. They just kind of go wherever the wind blows, and they stay in like this victimhood mentality. They want everybody to feel sorry for them, and they just sit every day is a horrible day. It's negative. Ohio sucks. Or I'm just using that as an example, like somebody like that, or like, oh, this place, everything's just terrible. My life's horrible. Yeah, like I said, like the example, like Ohio sucks, or this food sucks, or everything just sucks, and just everything's terrible, and my life's terrible. Feel bad for me. Woe is me. And they always believe everything. They don't question anything. They don't anything they read online or whatever they see on the news or anything, it's the automatic truth, and they become, that's who they are. They're just an artificial person, and they're all about being liked, and that's their life. That's not really people I really tend to hang out to, or really tend to want to be around, because it's just, it drains. They're like energy vampires. That's really what they are. They're draining your energy. You don't even know it sometimes. But you ever guys ever been around somebody where you're in a good mood, you go and hang out with somebody, and by the time you get home, either that night or the next day when you wake up, you just feel drained, you feel kind of anxious, or you feel just kind of like down. Well, before you went and saw that person, you were in a great mood, you were flowing, going through life, and all of a sudden you go around somebody else and they just drain the hell out of you. And the next day you just feel like crap. You ever been there? Because I've been there a bunch of times. And those are kind of people you got to set boundaries with. And, that's just part of life. I'd rather be respected than liked. That's why I always talk about, in previous episodes on my Instagram, I've talked about it, about being liked. Don't chase being liked. You should want to be respected. I respect somebody that is who they want to be. Whether I don't agree with it, or maybe I'm not as interested in what they do, I respect them because they have a belief in themselves, and they're authentic, and they're true to who they are. And people tend to hang around more in the long term and want to be in relationships more with people who are respected, people who are true to themselves, people who are real. You know what I mean? I don't want to be around people or be in a relationship with somebody. Let's say, for instance, I date in a relationship with somebody that's like that. That's just not, it's not healthy long term. It's not going to last long term. And why should I try to patch something up or put on a back phony or try to keep something alive because I feel like I need to? Or, what I mean by that, a lot of times people will stay in relationships or stay around people because they're afraid to let go. They're afraid to go out of their comfort zone. They're afraid to, they fear they'll ever, they have that fear, will I ever get, if I let go, can I really ever get something better? Or can I ever really get to where I want to be? Because they don't have that belief and trust in themselves. There's an insecurity there, and I've been there. But you gotta have the belief and the trust, and you gotta have the patience to endure, and you gotta just take the leap, man. Like when I took the leap that day to get on this mic in that first episode, it changed everything for me. It was hard, but I had to do it. And there's multiple times in my life where I had to get out of my comfort zone, out of that cycle that I saw everybody else in. But I said, I'm not going to keep doing that. And you get out of that cycle, and it just opens up a whole world for you that you can't even imagine. It's a feeling you can't even explain. It's like, it's just an awesome, it's an incredible feeling. It motivates the hell out of you. And, the people reaching out to me recently, and especially after that first episode, there's so many people that reached out to me privately were just like, man, like, you inspired me so much. I've been going through that, and I never really said anything about it to anybody. And I've had people really close to me, even that people I'm really close with, I didn't know they were going through it either, like I was. And I'm like, just my they're like, yeah, just talking to you, and just I've had people have panic attacks call me. They're going through one. They just call me. They think to call me because they know I know what it is. I'm just like, wow, like it's. I'm really grateful, and it's a surreal feeling still. Like it's just my one person can inspire so many people to want to change and not to accept this artificial suffering. Just the same old crap they've been going through all their life. They don't want to live like that anymore. And it just took one person to inspire me. And that's why that's why I do this. That's why I want to make this grow. I want to improve this whole podcast because I want the message to become bigger and bigger and bigger to share to somebody. Because my challenge to you guys would be is share your message. Even if you inspire one person, it was all worth it. Who cares how many views or likes it gets? Nobody cares. As long as you remember this. It's not about how many views. It's like being liked or respected, like I was talking about. It's not about how many views or likes or popularity contests. It's about who is going to remember what you said. That's what it really counts. That's all that matters. Did you make an impact on somebody's life that they always remember what you said to them forever? or it changed their life in some way. Something you did led them to do something else. It's like a snowball effect, and it changed their whole life. And anybody can do it. We all have something special in us because God created us all as individuals. We're all unique and we have all uniqueness about us. He created us all unique in His own image, and so I truly believe anybody can inspire anybody because everybody has something. Somebody, you have something about you that nobody else has, or you've gone through something that other people haven't, but they're starting to go through it. Like with anxiety, for me, I've been through levels 9, 10 anxiety. I've been there at the highest point. But there's some people I know now that are starting to go through it. But they don't have somebody for instance, a couple people I know, until they heard me come out in their first episode, they were going to go through the same beginning cycle that I went through. But now they have somebody they can lean on that can guide them in a different, like, hey, let's just go this direction, give them some advice, somebody that's been there. And that's really key. And it's all it takes is just one person to do something different. No matter if it's not liked, no matter if it's not the popular opinion or what's the usual first response to something, but if that, basically what I'm saying is it's okay to be different. It's okay to challenge yourself. It's okay to go out of the ordinary because you might inspire not just one person, but that one person might share your message. Now you're inspiring so many other people, and what you've done is just inspirational. It's something to be remembered. And that's why I challenge you guys to share your stories as well. I want to hear your guys' stories. So many people have told me privately, I'm like, well, hey, don't tell me just private. Go on and share it. I want to hear it. Other people, you can write on Facebook or whatever. I don't care. Put it out there because you won't believe the feeling you have. You won't believe how free you'll feel. You don't have to conceal. You don't have to hide. You don't have to try to be somebody you're not. Allow yourself just to be. And that's really my message for today. Is just, with patience, but also being yourself. And that's kind of been my message for the last, all the episodes, really. But I think, the more I sit and reflect in the last week, and just, I think about since the first episode, all the things I've talked about, that's the main thing I see still. To me, that's the biggest thing I see right now. And it's just people stuck in the same mindset because they don't have the trust and belief. They don't have the patience to endure, but they also just don't have a mind for their own either. They don't, you don't have a mind for yourself. How are you going to be who you want to be? And so, you got to get out of that comfort zone. You got to believe, you just got to trust. You got to let go. And it's going to be hard at first, but in the end, it's all worth it. The reward is great. And it may not be as long as you think it is. Your test, your trial. It may not be as long as you think it is. Sometimes it happens quicker than you think. Sometimes it happens longer than you think. For me, it was 7 years. And I didn't envision that. 7 years ago, I thought I was about to start high school and do all these things I had planned. And it didn't happen. And I got in the point when I got in the middle, when I was 18 years old. High school's basically passed me by, and I didn't do what I wanted. I got kind of down and depressed, and I was too focused on the past, and I wasn't really talking to anybody really. And but I had to make a choice to not accept it anymore, and to, like I told my dad that day in the car, I can't do this anymore. This isn't working. I have to do something different. If it's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing. So if you want to change, you got to get out of that comfort zone. You got to challenge yourself to let go. And that's what I did. And it's led me to where I am now. And the things that I thought I didn't have really weren't that important, number one. But also, I have something greater, more greater things for me in the future. And the verse that, it's a Bible verse that really helped me. Isaiah 60:22. And it's when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. And that verse is something I've really clinged on to recently, but just for a while now. And it's something I'll always cling on to because things may not always happen the way we want it, when we want it. But with faith with God when the time is right. Stay prayed up and stay in your Bible daily. And I know it can be hard because you get distracted. And that's something I've been trying to do daily. And I'm doing it more now than really I ever have. And, keeping that trust and that belief when the time is right, He will make it happen. And it's always at the right time. And it's something I've learned. This podcast, looking back already a month later, and all the people I've talked to people privately, and just it started at the right time. And I'm going to keep going with it. And so, I appreciate you guys tuning in today. That's my message for today. Let me know what you guys think. Share this podcast. We can share this message, but also help this channel grow. Share, like, subscribe. Feel free to let me know if you guys want me to talk about whatever topic, really. And like I said, I've been working behind the scenes and trying to learn more how to grow this and more of the tech stuff, and just got some guests I'm going to bring on, guys who I think have a good story, just regular people like myself that have a good story about them, people that I think can really share something, a good message with you guys. And so that's a message for today. Hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend, and see you guys later. Go.